It's not too late to make some new choices.
No. The blood is already on my hands. Right or wrong, I must follow the path to its end.
I mean, I once saw a whole chorus line of purple wombats doing show tunes in my bathtub. Of course, I was pretty drunk at the time.
Sheridan encounters an unexplained phenomenon.
It was here. It attacked me.
Now, it's controlling his mind.
Delta One is launching.
On an all-new Babylon 5.
You have transmissions holding.
Patch incoming signal. Full audio and video decode.
Purple files accessed.
What you are about to see has never been shown to anyone outside the Grey Council.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast, a part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We are a group of first ones who have watched the show way too many times, and newbies who are watching for the very first time. I'm Scott, and with me is...
Emily.
Blake.
Mike.
Jessi.
Andrew.
Justin.
And Kevin.
We are going to start out talking about the episode with our newbies. We'll get their first impressions. We'll chat about the episode itself, and then we'll end up with their predictions and questions they have after the episode has been watched. And then we will kick them out the airlock, and our first ones will continue the conversation with spoilers. I say all this because there was a lot more people that watched the episode last week. So hopefully you carried over to this week and you're here for your second episode, I hope. And if you are here watching or listening, be sure to subscribe, click the like buttons, click that notify button if you're on YouTube, and also submit a review to us. It's been a while since we've gotten an iTunes Apple review, and I would love to have some more of those. So send those in. Also, if you're listening on Audible, because we are on Audible, you can send a review in there, or you can also send in any kind of review on your podcast app of choice. Along with that, you can join the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All the links are down below. And we have our Patreon, where you can join up on our Discord server, as well as get some behind-the-scenes info as we go, and help the show grow as well. And we also have merch, and somebody bought a mug last week. Thank you to somebody who bought a mug. We have our merch, which is linked down below as well.
All I have to say is if you are one of those people that watched us last week for the first time, we apologize that this is the next episode you get to watch with us.
It's not that bad. It's not that good either, but it's not that bad. As I mentioned, we didn't get any new reviews on Apple or anything, but we've gotten some new people to join us over on our Facebook page. So I wanted to read one, and that is from... James says, I just started listening to your podcast finally. Been a lifelong fan and watched countless times. Sounds like it could be a fun ride. My partner watched it for the first time a couple of years ago, and it was fun remembering what she said and what the others newbies have said as well. Interesting that no one brought up There's a Hole in Your Mind. I think you should go back and watch the first couple episodes, James. Just gonna throw it out there. Should probably check that one out. But welcome aboard. So before we get started talking about knives, Mike, I believe you have synopses for us.
This week on Babylon 5, John Sheridan goes ghost adventuring in Grey Sector, and Londo is forced to confront... Fuck, I lost my train of thought. And Londo is forced to confront some consequences of his actions.
I feel no need to edit that at all. I think I'm just going to edit it just that way.
That was perfect.
Fuck.
So I'm looking forward to talking about the Babylon Triangle with all of you guys because it's such an amazing part of this episode. Let's get into first impressions first, though. Jessi, first impressions on knives.
If last episode was your first episode listening to this, let me introduce myself as the one that absolutely hates a lot of things about this show. I hated this episode. Like, listen, I would watch TKO 10 times over having to watch this one again.
Oh, wow.
I fucking liked it. So I hated the A plot. I hated the B plot. I thought they were both stupid. We only got to see Ivanova like 5 seconds. Yeah, no, not a fan.
Jesse, could you try that again and tell us how you really feel?
A little less angry lesbian energy this time.
This is a safe space.
Wow.
I am absolutely the person he was talking about in that comment, and she just came out. So it is what it is. I hated it. I was watching it and I was getting like first season vibes. I'm like, no, I don't want to go back. And that's where I found myself, like dreading the entire episode.
Coming from the same person who hated every moment Ivanova was on screen for how long?
Right.
And now all she wants is more Ivanova.
She's not Takashima!
Yeah. No, listen, I can't wait to listen to that Beyond the Rim when we're all done. Because I know
we laughed at you so much.
Mad shit about me the whole time.
We should do like the review of the show episode by episode. Like, let's listen to the Beyond the Rim with the newbies and talk about it.
Oh God, that's awesome.
I think we should do like one special that way. You know, just take some Beyond the Rim and we just talk about a few of them.
I would say we do that just with some of us after this is done. Like, I wouldn't mind doing that.
This is some bonus content. Let's look at the episode where we said Justin was an idiot, and let's look at the episode where we said Jessi was an idiot, and so forth and so on.
Like everyone.
But the flip side is
the episode where Emily won the tinfoil hat.
Exactly. But the flip side is there'll be episodes. Hey, let's watch the episode where we had to pretend that this person didn't make the perfect prediction that actually outlined the entire show in their prediction, because that's happened a couple times.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or has it?
I didn't say who. Okay. Yeah. So thanks, Jessi, for that.
Yeah. Anything I could do for you guys.
We're happy to have you back. Andrew, first impressions on Knives.
Yeah, so kind of 50-50 on the episode. I really liked the B plot, which should be established what the A plot and B plot are.
I would say the A plot, because it's the title of the episode, is the sword fight and the Londo stuff, and the B plot would be the what the hell is happening to Sheridan.
Okay, B plot is Sheridan. I'll have to remember to change that in my notes.
If you had a different plot in mind, please share.
So if you have a third plot point, perhaps you watched the wrong episode.
Does this happen too?
Anything would be better than the B plot. Anything.
Okay, so I get the Londo plot. The Londo plot I really enjoyed. The B plot I was interested in, but ultimately I was kind of disappointed by it. Like it all just felt really convoluted. My main takeaway is I'm actually now more scared than ever about Londo's future on Babylon 5.
Justin looks like somebody came in his eye.
Hey,
I just got Ben Gay in my eye.
Oh,
Ben Gay.
I was close.
It's been a day, okay?
He's just like, yar.
My penis is also burning like the fire of 1,000 suns.
Oh God!
Okay?
All right,
it's been a day.
Pretty sure there's a warning on the bottle that says don't put that there.
I didn't put it there. I didn't realize it was on my hands, and then I did things, and then now everything's on fire.
Oh, time. Okay. We have derailed.
So who was he who had risen?
Not that, you sick fucking pervert.
This is what happens when we record on Easter Sunday.
Oh God.
We're all going to hell.
And then I touched things and it got bad.
Don't get me started on dragging up eggs and then hating drag queens.
Oh boy. Okay.
What Ron Williams saying in his stand-up? Buddies don't lay eggs. What is this?
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm okay. Let's continue.
Justin,
are you?
Oh, now you're going to make me go? Okay.
The rest of us might not be okay for a bit yet.
Okay, fine. Emily,
all right, no, I
impressions.
can go.
No, okay, fine.
Let's do it.
God damn it.
It's very meh. I titled this song, this episode in my brain as Sheridan makes a new imaginary friend and Londo stabs a real one. And that's pretty much it's.
Why didn't you give
why
a synopsis?
Did you do the synopsis this week?
Yeah. Right. But honestly, I like the Londo plot a lot. I thought it was very revealing for his character and something that I think a lot of us have been wanting to see, of him finally expressing some regret and remorse, and it's actually really infecting him at this point. Yeah, the Sheridan plot was absolutely nonsense, except the fact I have questions about the baseball scene, but that's pretty much really all I have to talk about regarding Sheridan. Like, where the fuck did they put the baseball stadium in the first place? But actually, I liked Franklin in this enough to say that the change in him to where he's now taking pride over being compared to his father, I thought was actually kind of cool.
Nice little callback.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what I've got to say about this point.
I will say the baseball stuff was brought up in the Lurker's Guide, so you were not alone, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. Emily, first impressions.
Yeah, I've already forgotten most of what happened because I just was not into it. It was not great. Londo, seeing a little bit more of his character develop was nice, but something about it just felt weird. And then whatever that weird freaky pterodactyl thing was that Sheridan may or may not have been hallucinating, I don't really know what to do with that. So yeah, I'm still unsure on this one.
I mean, we've all had some kind of drugs in our system at one point or another, right? We've all seen a freaky pterodactyl at least once.
Speak for yourself, sir.
Okay, maybe it was just me.
Your freaky pterodactyl might be a little bit different than the rest of ours.
We already know what Justin's freaky pterodactyl is, so it's fine.
Oh, God.
I was just going to ask whether or not you thought that the pterodactyl married Sheridan or not.
No, they did not get married.
They'll answer that beyond the rim.
Inside your rim.
Twist.
Oh, wow.
They didn't get married.
This was supposed to be a short episode, folks, because there's not much to talk about, but we're recording this Easter Sunday and we're all a little loopy. So
like, you haven't met us before. I don't know what you were thinking.
Again, we had double the viewership that we usually have. So assuming this is a lot of people's second episode, so
I feel so sorry for
and will they have a third?
No, not after this.
Please go back and start at like episode, I would say like 10 of season 1, and then just go from there. Like, if this is your second episode, I need you to just do better.
But we need you to realize that we do learn how to pronounce Ivanova's name. Just remember that when you go back to episode 10.
Stick with us.
Yeah, hang out with us. Okay, let's go to the first ones now. Kevin, first impressions.
Well, I enjoy seeing Carmen Argenziano in this episode. I remember that Peter said that he had a lot of fun filming with him during this episode, and they had to learn to sword fight together as well. So it was a very involved episode. And it was also very involved because him and Stephen First had to learn to JMS's satisfaction the operatic piece near the beginning of the episode. So I know that Peter thinks very fondly back on this episode. I really enjoy the A plot on this episode. The B plot is terrible. It's extremely forgettable. But I think for Londo's journey, this is a really good episode. It shows you some consequences of his choices. It shows, the loss of friends as power ascends. It has a lot of really good themes in the A plot, but I mean the B plot is completely something that can be thrown away.
Mike, first impressions.
Yeah, pretty much echo what Kevin and Andrew said. I do actually really enjoy the Londo plot in this episode. I think there's a lot of really top-notch acting, and I think it's great to see Londo come face to face with consequences of some of his actions, and I think there are some other interesting little tidbits sprinkled in there too that we'll talk about. But meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, Sheridan goes on a ghost hunt, sees a dead body, and starts tripping balls. And who hasn't been to Portland? Am I right, guys?
No shit.
So yeah, completely forgettable. It was a big waste of time there. This one for me it's a good character piece, but it doesn't do a lot to advance things. So I could kind of take it or leave it.
Blake.
And to Mike's point, as someone who does live in Oregon, I'm just saying there are some brownies out here that will make you see flying things. Putting that out there. But I'm a lot closer to Jessi on this episode. It's not one of my favorites. I mean, it does have some good acting in it, and I part of it, I wonder, we had this discussion last week, right, with the viewing order of the show. And this is kind of one of those in production. This was actually supposed to come before In the Shadow of Zahadum. And then the payoff to this episode with Sheridan seeing the ship his wife was on was supposed to then come in the episode after, not the episode before. So minor thing, but due to the special effects, this episode got delayed so that In Shadow of Zahadum came out first, followed by Knives. But it's not a favorite of mine. It doesn't really add to the story much. It doesn't have that in it. Maybe if it was back in the other order, that might change my perspective of it a little bit, marginally, but it's not a favorite. I don't care for either story arc in it, in part because they're both standalone. Neither really go anywhere. We didn't see where Londo gets any more. We've already seen the path he's on. This doesn't do anything to change that. This doesn't do anything for Sheridan either.
Yeah, we started out last week with In the Shadow of Zahadum saying it was, in the top 10 rated episodes of all time, actually tied in the top 9. I went back and looked at the Lurker's Guide P5 score for Knives, and it's in the top 8 of the least liked episodes of the entire show. It is the least liked episode of season 2. And there's only one episode left in the entire series that you guys haven't seen yet that's rated less than Knives. And when we get to that episode, it's going to be a fun conversation.
I'll tell you about it. Don't worry.
and I will say, actually, Blake said nothing comes of this episode. That episode is alluded to in this episode. And I will leave it at that.
Well, I'm not going to go back and rewatch it. So...
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll bring it up. I'll remind you. So, the one thing that this episode is really important for, and I'm with Kevin too. I think the Ursa Londo story is fun to watch. I enjoy watching Peter just be able to act and have fun. The Sheridan stuff is a complete and total bore. I actually almost caught myself dozing off when he was on CNC, which when I'm trying to watch this episode in order to review it later, dozing off is not a good sign. But the reason why this episode is important is something that I've been kind of talking about. I haven't been hinting at. I've been flat out saying it to you all season, is that we are here. This is the last script written by Larry DiTillio. This is it. There will not be a script written by anyone other than J. Michael Straczynski between now and one episode in season 5. This is where he takes over the running of the show completely. Not that he wasn't running the show already, but now he is the only writer of the show. So starting with our next episode, Confessions and Lamentations, through all but one more episode, it is all written by JMS. So read into that as you will. Let's go ahead and start talking about the episode proper, and let's get the Sheridan fever dream out of the way first. Who wants to talk about Sheridan, his little friend that joined for the ride along? Andrew does. Andrew, go right ahead.
Well, since we already kind of alluded to it, the baseball diamond. Why do they have a baseball diamond? And baseball. Okay, granted. But why is Pepper not allowed?
Is that where I dozed off? What the hell are we talking about Pepper? I'm sorry.
It could have been because I remember seeing it in the second baseball scene, but behind Garibaldi and Sheridan, there's no Pepper like spray painted on the wall.
You clearly watched this episode more than I did.
Wow.
I did watch it twice, yes.
I'm sorry.
I got nothing. Anyone else want to weigh in on the Pepper?
I didn't notice it either.
We'll discuss that beyond the rim.
No, we won't. 100%. No, we won't. I'm sorry, Andrew. I seriously got nothing for you on that one, buddy.
Sprinkle pepper on the shadows and they shrivel right up.
Spoiler alert.
Opposite of slugs.
Okay, wait. I actually.
Oh, Andrew
I just Googled baseball, no Pepper.
Don't Google things.
Baseball's not a Babylon 5 exclusive thing.
You don't know that.
I hope you get spoiled.
Pepper means that the player is not allowed to hit a ball with pepper in it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Hold on, time out. What's Pepper about? I found it. Don't use it. What?
Oh God, we're so
the batter. Well, now we're wondering what peppering means.
We are not. You are.
This is a shit show.
Can you tell this episode's boring?
I want to know.
Go ahead.
The batter was peppering his teammates with the baseball, sprinkling the ball to it. So I guess like a gentle throw.
But it's a machine pitcher.
Machines can be hacked.
They can be adjusted.
Fuck.
Okay, Justin,
Take it back. I don't want to know.
Okay, I'm done with the baseball.
Justin, what would you like to add to this great conversation about sci-fi?
I don't even remember anymore. You lost me at Pepper. I mean, shit.
That gay in his eye.
I guess. Yeah, I guess the only thing that I took from the whole baseball thing, other than having that first, where the hell did they manage to put a baseball diamond in there? But the station is 5 miles long, so it doesn't surprise me they found a little bit nook or cranny somewhere to fit, some kind of recreation area. I noticed early on that Sheridan was hitting the ball very well. Like, oh, that's a home run. Oh, there it goes. Oh, another great hit. And Garibaldi gets up there and just smacks foul ball after foul ball after foul ball. But then later on in the episode, it's reversed, where Sheridan starts kind of really hitting the ball very badly when he's forced to take time off and everything like that. And just that change in dynamic throughout that episode was really one of the only things of that whole plot line that really I paid any attention to or kind of made any sense to me, other than being fascinated trying to read Sheridan's hat, and I can't for the life of me figure out what the hell was even on it.
I don't know, but as somebody who has a Niners shirt from Deep Space Nine, I kind of want it for the set. I also did like the pinstriping of the B5.
The B5 shirt. Baseball jersey, yeah. I've got, based on my old hockey jersey ideas, I've got ideas now.
Yeah, excellent. Let's get into the baseball a little bit more, because unlike Andrew, who just throws shit at us, Blake actually gave us a link in the chat. So Blake, the Wikipedia says, peppering is an exercise in baseball, and pepper is a common pregame exercise in which one player hits brisk grounders and line drives to a group of fielders who are standing about 20 feet away. The fielders throw balls to the batter, who use a short, light swing to hit the ball on the ground towards the fielders. The fielders field the ground balls and continue tossing the ball to the batter. This exercise keeps the fielders and batters alert and helps to develop quickness and good hand-eye coordination. As somebody who has coached baseball, I feel bad that I didn't know that, but whatever. I think this actually has a point now, Andrew. After reading that, I honest to God think this has a point, because this came out in conversations on the Usenets, believe it or not. And the Lurkers Guide has a whole little thing about it, because B5 is spinning. So there is a Coriolis effect. And when you hit the ball in the air, chances are the ball is going to hit a different gravity than so basically, like, if you hit a ball at the Rockies field in Denver, it's going to go farther because there's less atmosphere. Well, on B5, you have different gravity levels the higher or the closer you get to the center of spin. Actually, lower gravity levels. I'm sorry, you lose gravity as you get closer to the center of spin. So maybe the peppering would be a problem because the ball is going to change dynamics and physics based on the spin of the station. I'm trying. I really am. That's all I got.
Also, Scott, I think his hat, for to Jeff's question, it was the Agamemnon, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
I think
it didn't look like B5, that's for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't B5. It was the Agamemnon, I think.
Cool.
Well, I still want one.
See, we're actually adding more to the lore right here. Thank you, Andrew and Justin, for taking part in this exercise. We appreciate it. Mike, what do you got?
Okay. In addition to the pepper comment, because we're just going to go all in on this now. Sorry, British friends. Pepper is a warm-up exercise. It's actually banned at a lot of ball diamonds because of spectator and player safety. Basically, it's like an out-of-control game of pickle, or just a lot of balls getting hit really fast. People get fast and loose. It causes things to go off into the stands that aren't meant to go into the stands. So you'll actually see no pepper signs at a lot of ball diamonds.
And when you're hitting balls, you definitely don't want to get fast and loose.
So, there you go. You will commonly see in real life no pepper signs at baseball diamonds.
Did you actually know that, Mike, or did you just Google it?
Sure didn't.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I believe he read the second box of the Wikipedia page that was right below the part you read, Scott.
It's actually on baseballscouter.com.
Great.
Top-notch reporting, guys.
You did mention our UK friends. We are still the top 40 TV review podcasts in the United Kingdom. So hi to the 10 of you who are listening to this. How are you? Jessi, what do you got?
You asked about the fever dream, and we've spent 10 minutes talking about peppering. Thank you, Andrew.
Could have talked about a lot worse things.
That's 100% the truth. So about the fever dream. My issue with the fever dream was it was extremely confusing the whole time. And then the resolution to it wasn't much clearer. Like you see the whatever it was leave his body and go into whatever it went into. And I still had no idea what was going on until he like explained it. And when he's explaining it, he's like, oh yeah, and then this and blah, blah, blah. And it was just so matter of fact. And I was like, this makes zero freaking sense to me whatsoever. The whole thing was just a bunch of nonsense. And I did not enjoy it.
I think my biggest takeaway was the fact that after all this time, they like no one else on B5 bothered to clue Sheridan in on the fact that there's like the other space station that sometimes periodically phases into reality and then disappears again.
That still has tech.
And then he's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you have an entire sector of space that's relatively close because you can fly to it in a fighter that has been, cordoned off, and Sheridan, who loves learning about all the weird shit and loves digging up conspiracies and everything else, didn't have a clue about B4. Yeah. Although they did answer, Emily, you've been bringing this shit up so many times. Did they not make copies? Oh
my God. I was so happy seeing Garibaldi.
Garibaldi made a copy.
I was like, yes, Garibaldi made a copy.
We've been talking about that Beyond the Rim for a while. Basically saying, Emily, shut the fuck up. They made copies. But now I can tell you, Emily, they made copies.
Hey, I just wanted to see it to verify.
I think we were all like that too. Because I was like, who freaking would give away all the records and not make a copy? I think we went on like a 20-minute tangent about that.
We did.
20 minutes?
Yeah.
It was several episodes. Because then she brought up again. Did they make a copy this time?
Hey, legit question. I know. Garibaldi can make a copy, but I don't know about Sinclair Sheridan yet.
Oh my God. She's never going to stop.
It just baffles me. We've had a lot of episodes now where I feel like there's been this like trust building going on between Sheridan and Garibaldi and Sheridan and Ivanova. And we now know that they're all brought into like the inner circle that knows about the things, right? From like the Rangers and stuff. And then like this, just out of nowhere, they're like, I knew we forgot to tell you about the metaphysical space station that sometimes appears outside.
Remember that time we time traveled? Forgot to tell you about that one.
I mean, I guess there's not ever like a time when that just is appropriate to bring up, but
that one pilot who's not Keffer died, but we're not going to tell you about it at all. Anything else we want to talk about the Sheridan plot? I will say, I see what they're going for here. Okay. I watch another person who does reviews of B5, or at least he had, and he's finished it now. He's called the Lore Runner on YouTube. And, he points out that this is one of the most Star Trek-y Babylon 5 episodes you're going to find, and that's not a good thing. And it's because the plot is very much like alien invades the ship, and stuff happens, and at the end, nothing really happened.
It goes away.
Yeah, it's very much TNG, is it not?
That is honestly the first thing I thought of.
A lot of original series stuff, too.
Yeah, that's true.
And to that point, it feels like it was a season 1 plot / episode that found its way into half of season 2 somehow.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, Larry DiTillio has done a lot of great stuff. He's one of the reasons why B5 made it to where it is. But you can just tell that he's got a systematic approach. He's very good at doing the inner character stuff. I mean, that's the one thing we all liked about TKO, which is another one he wrote. But when it comes to moving the plot along, he doesn't really do much of that. So I'm looking forward to how you guys feel about all JMS all the time as we move forward. So now we've gotten through the wannabe Twilight Zone / Star Trek episode part of this. So let's talk about the other part, which is Ursa and Londo. How do you guys feel about that part, the A plot, or as Andrew put in his notes, the B plot?
I thought one of the really interesting things about this episode was that it showed another Centauri who is not bloodthirsty for the Narns, and would be against, the stuff going on now and for, Malachi's approach to things. I thought that was a really interesting aspect. And it showed the dichotomy between, they had a similar upbringing, the two of them, Urza and Londo, but they had diverged, since their upbringing tremendously.
Justin?
Well, and I think the reason why I considered this particular plot point to be kind of, if not super important, but actually fits within the storyline that we're kind of going through right now, is it harkens back to a lot of stuff that actually got all this shit started. Back when the Emperor was wanting to make peace with the Narns instead of going to war, and Londo and Morden and Lord Rifa. When Londo and Morden and Lord Rifa started kind of hatching plots and things went down. The Emperor died. The Prime Minister was, committed suicide, but we all know he was murdered. And just kind of the chain of events that's getting us to where we are now. And we're kind of getting a glimpse of what life on Centauri Prime is like under this new Emperor, where it kind of feels like Rifa and the Centaurum, am I getting that right? Basically their version of their Senate is kind of, I think, taking the reins away from the Emperor. And even like when Londo was aghast that his lifelong childhood ally and friend would dare be accused of treason, where's the proof? There's no way they can have proof. Well, all you need now is an accusation. And that's kind of telling us the state of affairs of what things are looking like on Centauri Prime right now. And just how bad it is getting there. If you're not towing, Rifa's line, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. And how much did we see that back in the ancient Roman Empire? So it's to me, I kind of enjoyed that little bit of behind the scenes of it, of just to see kind of what's going on in the background that we're not seeing as a result of Londo's actions and, the overthrow, I guess you could consider it, of Centauri Prime and what they're dealing with right now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that actually helps this episode, is that we get to see a little bit of a glimpse into Centauri culture. The one other thing too, along with that, is we get to see kind of a dichotomy between Rifa and Londo, both of which are now working towards the same goal. And we kind of got that the last time we met Rifa, is they're, because obviously they were both standing next to the old Emperor on his deathbed, and were both damned by the old Emperor. So we see Rifa is just moving full steam ahead. He's good to go. As he said in the episode we saw him in last, well, good to be damned if you can go ahead and make history.
I think that one interesting dynamic shift that we're starting to see is, until then, I think Londo thought he was in charge, and this episode kind of points out he's not. He's kind of lost control of the situation, I think, because now Rifa's calling the shots back home, and Londo is trying to kind of pick up, he thought, well, you have to do what I say. And Rifa's like, yeah, kind of not. So that's I think one important shift to take note of.
I can see that too, Justin. But the other thing I was getting at is how they handle destiny. Both Rifa and Londo have said to us a couple times now, they believe they have a destiny, and the Centauri Empire has a destiny. Centauri Republic, whatever. And both of them are on board with that. But Rifa is actually moving the pieces on the board, making sure that this is happening the way he wants to happen. Whereas in Londo is like, we have a destiny. It's going to happen. I can't stop it. I really don't want to stop it, but I'm also not going to be the guy over on Centauri Prime moving and shaking all the pieces. So it's interesting to see that Londo is still hesitant with his destiny, even though he's flat out telling Ursa, we should be conquering. This is what we should be doing. This is what we're built for. So Londo has continued his long trip down to the dark side. Emily.
I found Londo's interactions with his friends interesting, and especially when he starts to figure out just how disconnected he is. Like, he's been on B5 thinking he knows what's going on, and he knew the Emperor died, but he knew there was a change that was going to happen, but he almost seemed to just ignore it as far as how it would affect him or anyone he knows. And now he's seeing just how scary things are getting on Centauri. And the person he aligned with is probably a bad choice. Again, like Morden was a bad choice. And he's making a bad choice by working with Rifa. It was, I don't want to say nice, but it was good to see that he's starting to make that realization, like, oh shit, now I'm in deeper than I realized. I don't have the control I thought I had.
I want to dig a little deeper on that point real quick, Emily, because I see where you're coming from. But is he really recognizing that he's in deep, or is he like, okay, well, Rifa told me I misread Rifa, but at the end of the day, Ursa, you're screwed anyway because this is where it's going. So does he really care what Rifa's doing aside from the fact that he misread him?
I mean, he ended up having to kill his friend because Rifa's doing some shit. So I kind of took that as like, it's whether or not he might admit to it. I think there's probably a level where he's going to have to really start battling within himself over what the hell's happening. I mean, he essentially had to murder his friend to save his friend's family.
Mm-hmm. Mike, what do you got?
Well, to back up Emily's point, and you can jump in and tell me he was playing dumb or whatever, but Londo seemed genuinely surprised to learn that the prime minister had been assassinated. I think he was well aware when he signed up to be a co-conspirator with Rifa that, you know, people were going to get bounced out of their seats of power, but I don't think he was necessarily, maybe to your point, maybe he didn't care, maybe he willingly turned a blind eye to it, but he did genuinely seem surprised when Ursa came and said the prime minister was assassinated, and then Londo went and was like, what?
Maybe I could be reading too deep into it, but at the very end of the episode when he kind of like kicks Veer out of his quarters and he says, I'd like to sleep now if I can. I could be reading too deeply into it, but I do think maybe like Londo's kind of just accepted the fact that he has to go down this path now, but he doesn't necessarily want to.
It's cute how all of you still are like on the Team Londo. He's misunderstood. He may have tried to murder 250,000 people, but he's misunderstood.
Oh, I don't think he's misunderstood.
No, I don't think he's misunderstood. I think he's made shit choices.
This is the bet he's made. And yes, I've made the comment about I think he's actually starting to feel regret because I think at some point he is. But this is the bet he made, and now he has to sleep in it. Like he even says at the end, for better or for worse, right or wrong, I must follow this path to its end. Like he knows he's in it for the long haul. There's nothing he can do to change it. But I think he's starting to kind of, you know, I think Emily hit the point on the head perfectly. He's realizing he made some bad choices in life, and now he's dealing with the repercussions of it.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's regret necessarily. I think it's more like this is what has to happen for us to restore glory to the Empire, which is his biggest desire, and he's just now not happy about it, but accepting that he is maybe the bad guy. He's the person who has to suffer to make it happen.
Like he's finally starting to feel the actual weight of everything that's happening.
Okay, I can see that.
What'd you have, Mike?
That's it.
What do you think, Jessi?
Jessi fucking hated this episode.
I did so much, and I haven't felt like this since season 1, so I'm a little over it.
Great. I'm glad that you missed the conversation of an episode I think you would have liked. That was really sucky that you had to miss that episode and had to deal with this episode. I apologize.
I watched the episode. I just couldn't be here for the recording.
Oh, yeah.
Are you talking about the Zaha Doom one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that
Zaha
episode.
Doomies.
Yeah. I watched that twice and started to watch it a third time. So.
And then we made you watch Knives.
And then I got to watch this gem.
Well, you know, and at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't think that this episode is like super egregious, particularly. I just think it's beneath where the show now is. And I think that's why it hurts.
I agree because we've been in season 2 where it's been like, it's good. Every episode is good. And this one is very much giving me season 1 vibes, early season 1 vibes.
For as much as this episode gave us as far as information regarding Londo and what's happening, you know, back home for him, I feel like it just fell flat.
Mm-hmm. Season 1, I was napping in between episodes. I would turn it off, take a nap, and wake back up and watch it. Like that's how much I fucking hated some of those episodes. And then like season 2 has not been like that at all. Like even the ones that were not good weren't like this one. This one, like I said, this one is very much, I need a nap to continue this nonsense.
Yeah, and I think I feel the same way as you all do with this episode too, is I keep telling you how, you know, the gas has been pressed and everything's moving faster now and we're going to get even more serialized, and it feels like somebody just hit the e-brake on us with this episode, and it's rough.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Luckily, there's not many more times where the e-brake gets hit, at least
what Scott's saying is he's lied to all of you through this whole season.
I had to keep them here, Blake. This is a long Twilight struggle. Ha 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 ha. And I had to keep them here.
My sisters and my nephews were down for the weekend, and I was watching it this morning, and my 2 nephews were sitting there watching me. People who they've actually gone back and listened to some of our episodes, and they've heard me talk a lot about the podcast and stuff like that. And after the episode, one of them just turns and she goes, "This is the show that you're watching?" I'm like, "It's better, dude. It's better. Trust me. It's not this bad."
Yeah, Mallory was definitely judging me when she was half watching this episode 2. She's like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "This is the worst episode of season 2."
That's good to know.
Licorice Guy would agree with you. So let's go ahead and put this thing, much like Urza, out of its misery and talk about questions and predictions. I am sure we're going to have so many. So let's go to Jessi first because she's shaking her head emphatically. Jessi, questions and predictions after Knives.
None. What? So can we not? My question is, can we never watch this episode again? That would be great. No questions, no predictions.
Are you writing that down, Scott?
Let's move on.
100%. 100%. Okay. Andrew, questions, predictions.
Yeah, I have 2 predictions. Urza turning on Londo, leading to Londo having to kill him, is the beginning of more of the Centauri turning against Londo in his rise to power. And the other one is Londo will have Rifa killed as an assurance. What are you
I feel like on those 2 predictions, I'm sorry. I feel like on those 2 predictions that you're like at the roulette table and you put some money on black and some money on red to hedge your bets. Because in one, you're like, the Centauri are going to turn on Londo. And in the other, Londo's going to get rid of Rifa to ensure that he continues to move forward.
Well, I didn't say it was in that order.
I mean, I wouldn't be sad to see Londo take out Rifa, so.
That's actually a smart prediction, Andrew. I like that.
Yeah.
That was just the order I came up with them in.
Well, Justin, you're up next. Questions, predictions.
Question: is there a baseball league on Babylon 5, and how come we've never heard of it until now? And then prediction is, I just think going forward, you're going to start to see Londo have to deal with a lot more of his chickens coming home to roost, so to speak, and even maybe in not in necessarily overt ways. He's just going to have a lot of shit going forth he's going to deal with, because we've been talking a lot about events back on Earth and where we think EarthGov is going, but there's some shady shit to quote our dear Nicole, who's not here. There's some shady shit going on in Centauri Prime too that we're going to have to keep our eyes on.
And Emily, questions, predictions.
I got 3 questions. Will Londo actually start putting in effort to be better informed about what's happening back home? Since he had mentioned he had been so disconnected, he really didn't understand what was going on. How will this change his interactions with Rifa going forward, since they've been conspiring together? And when he stabbed Ursa, did he stab more than his abdomen, given what we know about Centauri anatomy?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Hurt my dick, coach.
You know, we've got at least a few episodes without talking about Centauri penises or peni, and so Emily just had to bring it back.
And how many dicks did he sever?
37. Oh, wait.
Else thought that when you see it going to the abdomen, you're like, wait a minute, what else being severed here? Like, is this even worse than, I don't know.
It didn't seem that painful.
I didn't even think about that. I'm too worried about my own dick right now to worry about anyone else's.
Damn it. On that note, we'll see you all here next week for Confessions and Lamentations. And while Justin calls the telenurse, you can go ahead and click on all the buttons except for the down arrow. Don't click on that one. Make sure you subscribe and click the notify button if you're on YouTube, or make sure you click the follow or subscribe button, and be sure to leave a review for us. It really helps the show grow. And join us over at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check us out there and have conversations with all the newbies and all the first ones as we really figure out what the hell to do after Knives. We will be back here next week to talk Confessions and Lamentations, and if you've already watched the show or you don't care about spoilers, stick around after the credits as we answer, I guess, these questions and predictions that the newbies have thrown out at us. I am Scott, and with me has been
Emily,
Blake,
Mike,
Jessi,
Andrew,
Justin,
and Kevin.
So we will see you next week, and I apologize. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Awesome.
That was fucked. Thank you for listening to Grey 17, a Babylon 5 podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast at anchor.fm/Grey17podcast or youtube.com at Grey17podcast. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or Patreon. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Grey 17 is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Warner Brothers or any other owners of the Babylon 5 copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purpose of review, and no infringement is intended. The opening and closing themes are available from Falling Matter on YouTube.
And what's out there?
The rim,
And beyond that?
the truth.
Welcome to those of you who have stuck around for Beyond the Rim, because I'm sure you're looking forward to all the in-depth conversations we're going to have about Centauri Peni, but we're here for it. We're here for it. Let's go ahead, guys, and dive right into these amazing questions from Knives. The first one is, can we never watch this episode again? Question mark.
I would say yes.
No, I want to watch it again. Okay, no one's going to play
No,
it.
in all seriousness, is this episode relevant in the grander scheme of things? No, not really. So there's really not any reason to swoop back to it, in my opinion.
Well, this is the frustrating thing. We all four of us kind of hit on it without going into too much detail, but none of this fucking matters. Londo is already on the path he's on, and we'll talk about the Rifa stuff here in a minute, but none of that matters. Sheridan now knows about B4, but that doesn't fucking matter anyway, because when he gets tagged along for War Without End, it's really Delenn saying, get your ass on the ship, here we go. I mean, it doesn't really matter anyway. They could have talked about it then for the first time. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this, like, I do, because of some of the other shows that I have watched, Discovery, I do feel like there is a general lack of characters having to come to terms with consequences for the things that they do. And so I do like in this episode that Londo has to come face to face and ultimately ends up put into a position to have to kill his friend, against his will, because of what he has done. Now, in the grand scheme of things, as far as character arcs or whatever, does it matter? Does it have a lasting impact on him? No, not really. Like you said, he was already on this path, but it was, I don't know, I guess, to me at least, it had some value in showing that, yeah, this character does have to suffer, some of the consequences of what he's done.
Mm-hmm. So more hard-hitting questions for us. Is there a baseball league on B5?
Yeah, it's those purple and green Drazi.
Yes.
Yeah. When the Drazi, get done beating the hell out of each other, they go play baseball.
I'm guessing they don't, given their dislike of Earthers, and I use that term very specifically because that's the same slur they threw at them.
I do love the fact that, going to what was mentioned by the newbies, we were told just a few episodes ago that the command staff had too big of quarters, but we do have room for a baseball diamond. So yes. Engineering, planning, strategy.
Well, the baseball diamond helps at morale because they can all go and play baseball and remember home.
Maybe Ivanova's shower or Sheridan's shower helps with morale too. I don't know.
It's just one person though.
You assume. Okay, moving on. Will Londo put a better effort into finding out what is going on back home? Everyone's got checked out.
I feel like I've done all the talking so far, so I was staying quiet. I don't think so. I think Londo has accepted that he is the guy whose hands will be dirty, and that's just the role that he plays in the greater Centauri destiny.
Well, I mean, but he does say in the episode, "I need to do a better job of paying attention."
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Yeah.
And even if he does, I don't think it changes much of anything. I mean, Rifa really runs things other than, when the new emperor starts to assert his authority, and really that's only for the most masochistic stuff and most selfish stuff. So I don't really think that him paying any more attention is going to make any difference whatsoever.
I don't think he cares. Honestly, I think Londo cares about the result, how it happens, how it gets there. It's thing about seeing the sausage being made. He doesn't want to do that part. He just knows he has an outcome that he wants, and it's getting there.
Yeah, it's maybe not even a matter of caring or not. I think he cares a little, but not enough to bother doing anything different.
Yeah.
I think he's genuinely taken aback by Rifa kind of leaving him on the outside of certain things. I think he's genuinely taken aback by, his friend's family being condemned. I think he's genuinely taken aback by finding out the prime minister was murdered. But also in the back of my mind, I assume he probably on some level knew that was going to happen or what did happen, and just was like, "Oh, that's terrible." Yeah.
So, and I think we already answered this one with what we just said, but will Londo's interactions with Rifa change? Not really, not at least for now. And we'll get into the predictions in a moment and talk more about it.
It's the Starbucks principle. I'm outraged by their cups, but I'm still going to go there.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Which we had this conversation about Chick-fil-A off the recording last week. Like, fuck Chick-fil-A, but goddamn, their chicken's so good.
Still going to go get my hate chicken.
Clearly, Londo is a connoisseur of the real politique way of doing things. Power is important. Power is the only, and whatever needs to happen to get to the result is, like Blake said, is the sausage being made, and he doesn't really care.
Mm-hmm. And the last one, because our newbies have an infatuation with Centauri dicks. Did Ursa get stabbed in the dick? Anyone want to add to that, or can I just move on?
No.
I'm just saying, with this group, I think if we do the gift exchange at Christmas again, some of these people are going to get a bag of gummy dicks, just given their obsession with dicks. Somebody in this group is getting sent a bag of dicks this year.
Get them all like stuffed animals of octopi and just call it a day. Like, here's your tentacle porn. Enjoy.
Stick them wherever you would like.
Yeah. Moving right along to predictions. Ursa turning on Londo, having Londo kill him, causes Centauri to turn against Londo. First, I didn't want to question Andrew because, well, it didn't really matter. But Ursa didn't turn on Londo.
Mm.
That wasn't the point at all. That was death by Londo. That was death by cop. He wanted to die to protect his family.
Yeah.
This isn't, you go back and look at even Roman times, which I think you can make an argument that Centauri are based heavily in part on Roman and French Empire. But you go back to the Roman Empire, and if people were accused of treason, they could be stripped of their property, everything that they could give to their families, and oftentimes would kill themselves before that could happen so that the inheritance of their families could be protected. That's kind of the same thing he did here. He knew the only way to protect his family was to die.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Urza was surprised to find out that Londo was among the conspirators that he was being condemned for rallying against. I think like Urza maybe in his mind did turn against Londo to some extent. Maybe, but that isn't what happened here. That wasn't the relevant part of this. Like you said, it was death by Londo to protect his family.
Yeah, I have no doubt Urza booked a passage to Babylon 5 knowing he would not be coming back. That was his plan all along, one way or the other. Along with that, too, this is a good part to say this is where we actually had an oopsie, guys, on our Beyond the Rim a while ago. And it was called out to us on our comment section is we actually said that Londo protected Rifa's family after he died, but it was actually Ursa that he protected. Oopsie. Londo will kill Rifa. Next best thing.
Pretty much.
One of the best episodes ever.
It's an awesome episode.
Yeah, and the Rock Cried Out, No Hiding Place is a fantastic episode of this series.
God, I'm looking forward to this. Is, we've had a lot of people ask us to do like live reaction shows, and I think it's very hard to do. We tried it with TKO and it just didn't work. But I would give anything to watch the newbies' first reactions when they just watch those Narn beat the shit out of Rifa until he dies. I want to watch that cathartic face that every one of them makes. I'm looking forward to it.
It's a very satisfying episode because you've seen Rifa just be the worst of the Centauri for 2 seasons, pretty much ish. Yeah. And you're just like, God, fuck this guy. And then finally he gets his comeuppance, and you're like, yes.
And it's even better. I mean, I wouldn't call it a redemption for Londo, but at least Londo makes the right choice for once. And you get that kind of positive outcome as well, too. Londo is absolutely the guy who pulls the trigger from afar. Okay, and to that point, Londo's chickens are going to come home to roost. No, they're not, which is the sad part. Londo's going to be emperor. It's going to work out for him in the worst possible way.
Well, he is never happy throughout the rest of the series, the rest of his life. He's never happy again. I think the only time you see him in this series where he's really truly happy is with Adira, and that's coming. So, and of course that's Rifa that kills her or has her killed. So
he doesn't even get to have Adira. He's happy waiting for her to come off the shuttle.
So, will he get his comeuppance? Not really, but his reign as emperor is completely clouded by him being taken over. So, and him having to get drunk every night just to have any semblance of who he was. But it's he doesn't have any sort of happiness or fulfillment. So I suppose in that sense, but
I keep thinking back to the scene that we're going to get where G'Kar and him finally have that moment where G'Kar forgives him. And Londo knows that he's going to have to get a keeper put on him. And so he's having that one last moment with G'Kar where he is completely of his own free will. And it's just so powerful and so depressing watching Londo basically walk off to the gallows after everything he's done. But I do appreciate that JMS goes ahead and he does it. There is no true redemption for Londo. After a while, you've done enough to where you cannot be redeemed. And I like that we see that in the main character, because we don't usually get that. Usually the main characters get their, oh, I've seen the light, and after a few seasons, you'll think of me as a hero again. We don't get that with Londo.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about with Knives? Cool. Good talk. Well, we'll be back here next week with Confessions and Lamentations, and I'm not saying it's going to be longer in this, but I'm just going to guess it's going to be a little longer in this. Just a thought. So until next week when we talk about that episode, I'm Scott, and with me has been
Mike, and Kevin.
Thanks, everybody.
Milagrosavissima, ti vai e magri soledad, ti mai daravissima. Aia vita, l'estero vigri.